Good day to you, Professor. My name is Juan Alfredo Alcorta, and today I will talk about crowdfunding, the alternative microfinance for small enterprises. Is it true? I will first describe the outline and introduce the subjects in this presentation. I will first talk about crowdfunding, the type of crowdfunding. I will describe microfinance and small and medium enterprises. I will talk about advantages and disadvantages of crowdfunding for small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. I will then give examples of crowdfunding platforms, and I will describe or name Islamic companies which have been used in crowdfunding. Next is the conclusion and references. So what is crowdfunding? As the name implies, it is the funding from a crowd. It is a collective and participatory and interactive way of people pulling together their money to support a project or an initiative. What crowdfunding allows people to do is to go beyond their closest ties, which would imply their friends, their relatives, or people within the community. And what this allows is the obtaining of funds in a relatively short amount of time without the intermediation of financial institutions. Now, what does crowdfunding involve? It is an open call, which is usually done through the internet, to a large number of people for the provision of funds through small individual contributions. And what these people obtain in return is no rewards, maybe just a donation or a sample or just a thank you, or they may receive a reward such as voting rights within the company in which they have provided funding. And the purpose is to support initiatives or specific purposes. Now, the profit maximization is usually the major driver in giving of funds by the crowd, but it is not the only one. Other factors include the belief in the project, providing assistance, being part of a larger group, supporting innovation, etc. Now, crowdfunding has historically been used for political campaigns, for disaster relief through charitable donations, for government support through the paying of taxes, for the implementation of public projects, for example, and for non-profit cultural and social projects. Nowadays, crowdfunding has expanded to include pre-sale and equity financing of startups, lending to innovative startups and small businesses through venture capital, for example. Or, for example, after the 2000 financial crisis, when many people did not have any more access to traditional banking institutions, they went to these crowdfunding platforms to ask for consumer loans. So, what are the types of crowdfunding? Crowdfunding can be classified according to the objective pursued by the crowd, and they can include 4 types of available. For example, there's donation-based, reward-based, lending-based, and equity-based. Donation-based is usually for philanthropic and social intentions. They include, for example, CrowdRise from the US. Reward-based is just, for example, receiving a simple thank you or a product sample from the enterprise. And it includes Kickstarter and Indiegogo, also from the US. Now, lending, which can be done with or without interest, includes, for example, Funding Circle, a UK crowdfunding platform. And then there's equity-based, which entails the investing in a company, and in exchange you receive shares or voting rights. Examples of platforms include Crowdcube from the UK or Funded by Me from Sweden. Now, what is microfinance? Microfinance consists in helping low-income families or individuals who don't have access to banking and loans, and providing them with the needed loans. As of 2014, these so-called unbanked number in 2 billion according to the World Bank. Now, why are people unbanked? What the World Bank has described is that around 3/4 of the poor in the world don't have access to a bank, and this is not only usually due to poverty, but for example, it also includes the costs involved in obtaining a loan, the travel distance from their homes to the financial institutions, and the bureaucracy or the paperwork involved in obtaining a loan. Now, who are the unbanked? Women tend to be more unbanked as compared to men. Also, the young, the less educated, those with less income, and those that live in rural areas. Now, the concept of microfinance was pioneered by Muhammad Yunus, the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize winner. What he did is he devised a model which would give loans to entrepreneurs which were considered too poor or did not have credit history or lacked collateral, for example, and who did not qualify for traditional loans. He instituted Grameen Bank, banking for the poor, to put his ideas into work. Now, small and medium enterprises can be described according to the number of people in which work in the company. Now, companies which have 1 to 4 workers are considered as micro enterprises. 5 to 19 are small and medium enterprises. Medium enterprises are 20 to 99 workers, and those companies which have 100 or more workers are considered large enterprises. Now, SMEs, or small medium enterprises, account for 60 to 70% of jobs worldwide. So it is crucial that these businesses have access to capital. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of crowdfunding for SMEs? The advantages include, for example, having an alternative source of finance. For lenders, it can include investing with higher returns as compared to savings accounts or investment accounts. You can have lower operational and transactional costs for borrowers. Also, people may obtain ideas or marketing or for marketing purposes for SMEs by putting out their ideas out there. And this also implies that entrepreneurs and funders may interchange knowledge and expertise. Now, what do disadvantages include? They include, for example, not having access to the internet, or there's also the risk of default. But what lenders do is they give many small loans to many entrepreneurs. So if one fails, they still can get their money back from other entrepreneurs. And for example, failed projects can damage the reputation of those who have asked for funds. Now, these are some of the crowdfunding platforms. The first three include platforms which give out loans to entrepreneurships. The last four are Islamic crowdfunding platforms. Blossom Finance, Edis Crowd, and Narwi give to entrepreneurs. Human Crescent provides humanitarian donations. Some of the Islamic companies using crowdfunding include in the media and in halal. Media include Alchemia, Deen TV, Ramadan Legacy, and crowdfunding has been used for the animated Burak movie Pitch Book. Halal companies include Halal Vital and Noor Vitamins. So what can we say up to now regarding the relationship between crowdfunding and SMEs? Well, it is an alternative source of funds to MFIs. That means that SMEs can go to platforms and not having to rely on microfinance institutions like Ramin Bank. Uh, the MFIs and crowdfunding platforms can be complementary sources of funds. This provides a much needed capital to the unbankable, but internet access is very crucial. And to answer the initial question is, does microfinance help SMIs? Well, it is true. However, it remains a nascent industry, and it has been largely been limited to conventional capital and not Sharia compliant capital. Well, thank you. Terima kasih. Muchas gracias.